My story starts in, it was 1988. I was living in Los Angeles. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. I could hear my answering machine. My sister was on the answering machine and she was very upset and she was saying, you know, you gotta come quick, Mom is in the hospital, she's really sick, you gotta come quick. I picked the phone up, she was no longer on there, and I called her house, she wasn't there, and I called the hospital and they said, yes, your mother's she's in surgery now. Wake up where the clouds are far behind. And I went there, and when I went in there was my sister, who had called me, my older sister, she's a year older than me. And I walked in and I said, you know, what's going on? What's up with Mom? And she didn't say anything, she just cried. And then the door opened up and the doctor walked in. He had been her doctor for many years. And he's a very compassionate man, very compassionate.
Maybe we should talk alone for a minute. Okay. I'm afraid your mother has a rare form of intestinal cancer. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid she's not going to live. My best guess may be wrong. We can't be inaccurate. But anything more than 2 to 3 months would be a miracle.
I'll be honest with you, I was devastated because it was like a punch in the face and the stomach all at the same time.
So I appreciate your diagnosis, but I don't accept it. You tell her?
Of course, it's my job.
Don't.
Excuse me?
Do not tell her.
The doctor said, I'm very sorry, and he turned around to walk away. And I didn't know what to do. You know, you can tell her she's sick, you can tell her she has cancer, you can tell her, but don't give her that death sentence. And I remember saying that, you know, that's not your right. You know, only God has that right. He said, but I was in there. And he said, it's too late. And he said, you know, in another situation, I might say, I might agree with you that there's something we can do, but I've seen this, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times, and it's just too late.
I realize this must be very hard, Mr. Cotton. But not only is it my duty to tell her, it's the law. So I'm sorry.
If you tell my mother she's gonna die, I'll break your fucking back.
Okay.
And I let him go, and he stood there and he looked at me, and he called security.
How did you feel about doing that?
Didn't feel good later, but the interesting thing was, you know, I'm just not that kind of person, and a lot of the stuff, you know, even the words that I said, they came from within me without thought, but, you know, I apologized, but it didn't feel good, but it was, I guess it was what was necessary, you know.
Hey.
Hello. Did they tell you the same thing they told me?
Yeah, I think so. How do you feel?
Same as yesterday and every day before that.
You said how long you might have?
So there was no real way of telling. Could be months. Could be years.
And I was freaked out, you know, not knowing what to do. And I remember thinking, you know, that was a time that, more than any of the other times, that I thought, wow, this is really serious.
Just need some place where I can lay my head. And mister, can you tell me?
At that stage in my life, I had my biggest passion was music. And right at that time, it was ironic because I had just started my music career, so I was doing all of that, doing the music. And I remember talking to my mom, and she goes, look, you know, you got to do what you're going to do. You know, she said, you know, I'm sick, and I'm going to get better, so you got to carry on with life.
Put the load right on me.
The other thing that I was doing at the time was studying and learning and the craft that I have now, which is the whole being a peak performance coach and all that. And so my time was 80% music with regard to my time, 80% music, maybe 20% doing the neurosciences, and then that was it. There was nothing else.
Good evening, Claire. Here's your dinner.
Good evening, thank you. This looks good. I've been waiting for this.
Here, take that back. Eat that.
What are you doing?
With regard to your body, what you put in your mouth and how you move your body will determine your health, period, plain and simple.
Joseph, you can't walk around here like you own the place and tell people how to do their jobs. What was that salad for?
She's not eating that shit, Jane.
Joe, it's hospital food.
I'm not kidding, Jane.
Joe, we're running out of money. We can't afford to keep her here.
I started making jokes, I started telling, here's what we're going to do, here's the things, here's how we're going to eat, your body knows what to do, here's what we're going to visualize, here's what we're going to do all that stuff. And that's what we did. And I'm not going to take all the credit for it because my sister, Ava, all my sisters through the whole process were just outstanding. They did the work.
Don't worry. I'll take care of it.
Mr. Cotton, I've reviewed your mother's insurance policy, and it seems that it's lapsed. It won't cover any of her treatments.
Woke up this morning, I suddenly realized we're all in this together. I started smiling, 'cause you were smiling, and we're
I've always had a passion for motorcycles, you know, Harleys and choppers and stuff like that. And I got my first one. It was an English bike. It was an old Norton, and I built it in the garage and you know, from pieces. And then my next bike was a Harley. It was a 1937 knucklehead Harley. And I probably took, you know, a year and a half, 2 years to build the thing. But I used to love it. I'd build it and then every couple of years tear it down and so on and so forth. And then I sold that one and then I built another one.
I saw you walking in the city. We're all in this together. The city's changing.
It was a show bike, you know, and all that stuff, and loved to ride and everything. But that's the one that I kept for several years, and I sold it, and I remember, you know, selling it and to get money together. And I remember hearing, and I don't know if it was that seminar or something else that I read. There was a Dr. Norman Cousins who had healed himself from terminal disease through laughter. I went to a video store in her town. I got a VCR and I got some comedy videos. When he would come in the hospital, I'd look at him like, and he would tell her she was sick. And anytime we'd get anywhere close to that, I would you know, jump in and say something and interrupt it. Later on, my mom told me, matter of fact, she wrote a book, and I got the book finished after she passed away. But in it, she said, even though I told the doctor not to, after a couple months, he did tell her. But by that time, she had already had enough of me, you know, telling her that you know what, not to pay attention to that. So it was okay.
Thanks Thanks for sharing with me.
It's, I don't know.
Joseph,
Yeah.
you know I can't stay here too much longer.
Don't worry about that.
I have to. I know how expensive it is for me to stay here.
You can stay as long as you need. That's so much.
And I remember when my mom learned that I sold it, she said that, you know, she didn't like that. And she said, you know, well, when I get well, you got to build another one. And I never did. I meant to, but life took over, you know. This was probably 96. She was such an incredibly cheerful person, even all that she's gone through, you know, had gone through. That smile on her face. You know, people say all the time that I wouldn't change a thing. If I had it to do over, I wouldn't change a thing. I think that's a bunch of crap. You know, I wish she would have never gotten cancer. I wish I'd have been more influential and impactful before she got sick. How it's changed my life is because going through all that process, it was an exercise in, hey, everything might not always work out, and it does. But did it make me stronger? I think so. You know, but it was emotionally draining. It changed my life, and the positive side is that I became the ambassador of good health, for lack of a better term. And I've been able to, through health and nutrition, you know, I've got, so many people that even had cancer who had all kinds of stuff that don't have it anymore. And in the field that I'm in with the supplementation and things like that, you know, diabetes, you name it, you know, I'm 53 years old now. And I believe if you're happy and if you have any abundance of any kind, then you don't sit on it, you pass it to other people. And that's what I encourage everybody on the planet to do. There were times that she, you know, was close to giving up. She did go through some hard times.
And this is something special. This one's for you.
I wish Grandma was here to see this.
Yeah. Where did she go?
Here she is. Doesn't she look beautiful? Hey, baby, how are you?
She's a very prideful person, whereas she, you know, didn't want us to worry about her and all that stuff. She fought through it, you know, every time, and she lived another 11 and a half years. That's it, kind of in a nutshell.
Woke up this morning, I suddenly realized we're all in this together. I started smiling, 'cause you were smiling, and we're all in this together. I'm made of atoms, you're made of atoms, and we're all in this together. And long division just doesn't matter, 'cause we're all in this together.